Hey y'all, this is A.O. Thick Madame, and this is the recap for Queen Sugar. Y'all know what happened last time, so when it came back on, Charlie and Micah were outside of the mill watching it burn. They had everybody there, the fire department putting it out, and you could just look at her and just tell that she has just been beaten down from all directions, and everything is just going up in smoke. So Kiki heard about it. She'd been calling him and he hadn't answered the phone. So when she popped up over there, she was like, Micah, I was so worried about you. You didn't answer your phone. So of course, I'm pretty sure she thought, anything could have happened. They, have had moments where they go over to the mill, and at one point in time they were there. So anything could have happened. So she was very much so worried about his well-being. Y'all, Ralph Angel was there too, but he didn't say anything in that scene. But y'all, Nova set it off and rolled up. I was like, girl, you're not welcome no matter what's going on. No matter what's going on. Your presence will not make it all right. It don't matter how strong you decide to stay. But anyway, Nova showed up. Everybody looking at her like, it was bad. But anyway, she was like, I left Philadelphia as soon as I heard. And then Micah was like, well, I let her know what was going on. We're still a family, right? Y'all, ain't nobody trying to hear that. And y'all, so Charlie is talking to the fire chief and was like, well, I don't understand what's going on. Why did it take y'all so long to get here? It took y'all over 30 minutes to get here. And so he was like, well, we never got any dispatch information. The alarm never sounded. A civilian is the one who called it in, actually. So that's the only reason why we were able to finally even come out here, because we didn't get any notification of it. And so she was like, that's impossible. We are up to code. We have people to come through for the inspections all the time. So y'all, you already know it's the inside. It's a job. It's a setup. You already know that, y'all. Anyway, so Charlie and Rob about to go somewhere. It set it off, and you could tell. And Nova's trying to talk to them. Charlie that went all the way off and went on about her business and was like, we don't want to talk. You already know, don't nobody want to talk to her. So Vi, she's not there, but she is at her diner, and she's there with a purpose. She is meeting up with Sam Landry. Now, y'all know Sam Landry was more prevalent in like the first seasons, and he's older and all that, but he is the sister of the woman who Charlie was trying to, have a sisterhood with at one point in time, but that turned out to be a situation that stabbed her in the back time and time again. So anyway, she met up with him and was like, I don't know what's going on. I know y'all had something to do with it. And so he was like, I promise you, I would never do something that underhanded to anybody. I would never. That had nothing to do with me. And so she was like, well, I know it was some of your people, so you need to get a handle on that. He was like, that's out of my hands. Y'all, apparently something happened back in the day. Now, if something happened and it was shown on the TV, I forgot what it was. But she was like, I'm calling in my favor. And he was just looking like, oh, God. He had to take a seat, because she was like, what you gonna do is this. You gonna fix it. He was like, well, I'll try my best. She was like, no, you're going to fix it. You're gonna put all of them back on their leashes. I was like, Lord have mercy, what in the world? What is the favor? You call it in your favor now? What in the world? What happened? I want to know what you did for him back in the day. So anyway, Charlie and Ralph Angel rolled up to Sam Landry's sister's. I don't know if it was a house or at an office or whatever, because they got money, so it could have been anywhere. But she was at some office. I think it was one of their businesses. Rolled up to Frances Landry, right? And she was like, I know you did it. Y'all, they so gangster with it. Ralph Angel was like, I'll guard the door for you. Because wasn't nobody around, and she rolled right on into the office. And ain't nobody see her in or nothing. It was just going to be what it was going to be, right? Y'all read her down about that plant situation, and a lot of people just think Charlie don't know nothing. Charlie knew all this information. She was kind of looking shocked that she knew all this. Y'all, the racism living deep down within came out with an instant. This heifer said something about how she loves the land and all this other stuff, but when the cane go in and gets milled out, and then it eventually at the end of the process when it becomes pure white as it should be. When she said all this, I said, oh, you racist heifer. Oh, you all the way racist for real. So even Charlie was like, yes, there it is. There it is. The racist came all the way out of her then. Y'all, I want to reach through the screen and slap her real quick. But anyway, she tried to say, well, look, I'm glad it happened. I don't know who did it, but I'm glad it happened. I didn't do it, but I'm glad it happened. Like, she went all the way off. Y'all, Charlie called her irrelevant. And it wiped every expression that she ever had off of her face. She called her basic and some more. I was like, no, it shut her down. But yeah, she said her piece and left out. But she, you know, said a lot of stuff. Y'all, come to find out, Ralph Angel was recording it the whole time. So when she was in the truck, after she left, they got in the truck. You know, of course, he's driving her around to these places that they're going to be going to throughout this episode. She had like a mini breakdown. And, you know, Ralph Angel gave her a little bit of encouragement. He was like, and besides, I got the whole thing on tape and played back a little part of it. It was crystal clear. I was like, what kind of phone is that? That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, Nova showed up to Vi's diner and thank the Lord she wasn't there. Prosper was there. It was like, it's good to see you, Nova. What's going on? And so she was like, is Aunt Vi here? And he was like, no, she went home to get some stuff together for the family. So, you know, I was like, Lord, this ain't finna work. Don't do it. So, Ralph Angel and his girlfriend, the lawyer, are talking, and they're, you know, at his house, and they're working on a plan to get that re-entry program back up and going. You know, that's his business. And Darla keeps calling. Well, not keeps. She called him. Y'all have seen she's been calling, and he has an answer. He has a life that's outside of her. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't about Blue, he ain't really trying to hear it like that. Not to make it seem as though he's being mean or anything to her, but he ain't trying to hear it. But what happened was she was at the house and she saw that the mill was on fire, and she tried to call him. He didn't answer the phone. So then she went over to the house because at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, he does have Blue at the moment. So she raced right on over there to where he was, and while Ralph Angel was in the middle of talking to his girlfriend about the program, she popped up, and, you know, they ended up introducing one another and all that good stuff. But old girl was like, well, I'll go in the house and let y'all have a moment. So she was like, oh, no, I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Because she wrote up, was like, are you okay? I saw what happened, and I was like, oh, Lord, girl, you're doing the most a little bit. But I think that woman is in control, and she's not, you know, worried about Darla, so I'm here for that. Nova is still at the diner, so she's talking to Prosper. So he was like, you know, Nova, I gotta ask you about this part in your book. And so she was like, okay. Because she was, I guess she was trying to kind of gauge and see what he was going to ask about. But he was like, you know, that part in your book where you said your daddy was burying somebody. And he had to let her know that what that was about was completely different. What happened was he did, in fact, get into it with this racist person who was trying to get at her when she was a child. He beat the dude down, and it was really bad. Like, they got into it. But what happened was he ended up taking the man to the hospital after the fact because apparently her mama, which was his wife, she is like everything, was everything, to the point of just the sound of her voice calmed him down in that moment. She was singing to Ralph Angel because he was a child. She was singing to him because he had woke up in the middle of the night or something, and her voice calmed him. So what he did was he took the man to the hospital, and when he got home, he ended up burying the bloody shirt that he had on, the bat that he had, anything that was a part of that night. He ended up burying it deep because he did not want to become that person again, despite the fact that, you know, I'm sorry, some people just need a good beat down. Some people need to be beat down. It's just the 1, the 2, and the 3. But yeah, that's what that was about. So he was trying to let her know, like, what you saw, it was not a person. That was him burying things. So I was like, oh, okay, all right. Y'all, Hollywood came home, right? Vi called him, hallelujah, finally. They had an embrace, and he asked her, was she all right? Was there anything he could do? Like, he is goals. Hollywood is goals as a husband, y'all. I am here for it. Their relationship just, it give me life. It give me so much life. So yeah, you know, it seems like, in all honesty, it seems like because of this fire, it is going to kind of help them come back together, and I hope it does in a major way. So yeah. Anyway, Ralph Angel is before a board and trying to plead his case about his reentry program. And they're basically telling him that it's going to be under review. And then they asked about the fire that happened at the mill, and because of what is outlined within the program, he is required to pay the people who are working 40 hours, got to pay their name money. And so they're kind of at the point where they're thinking that all this stuff is connected, and you got to do this. So did you burn? I mean, kind of trying to implicate him in arson, as if he was the one who burned the mill down in order to pay his staff. I mean, his employees. So yeah, y'all, it's a lot. They were just like, look, we got to take a lot into consideration, especially because of the fire now. Outside of just looking into your business, we got to look into that situation too. So Charlie is holding a meeting with the other people who they mill for. And ain't nobody trying to hear nothing she talking about. And they were looking like, look, we ain't got no money for all this foolishness. We was milling with y'all. And now what we gonna do? So they in their feelings, everybody that left out. Charlie's still trying to explain herself. Ain't nobody trying to hear her. So Prosper was like, I'll talk to him. It's gonna take time, but I'll talk to him. So at the diner, the family has met up at Vi's diner. Well, no. The dinner. The dinner is happening at Vi's house. Everybody is there except for Nova, of course. She's not invited. And Ralph Angel's girlfriend is there. So they are actually discussing the meal and, what they can expect and what they can do. So she was letting them know that they would actually have to find evidence that directly links Frances Landry to all that stuff that she's accusing her of, because even though she knows all this stuff, they actually have to have physical evidence to be able to say this is what she did and connect it to her. So yeah, got to do all that in order to connect her to the plant. So it don't matter what she say right now, they can bury all kinds of information everywhere, because apparently there really isn't a paper trail or any evidence that points to her right now that she has in her hands. So yeah, she is very broken, and it just got to a point where they spoke on it, and then they were gonna eat dinner, so they ended up saying the Lord's Prayer. I was like, oh, y'all. Meanwhile, Nova at the house in her feelings, and she called Calvin. So she asked him, did he make it back to Baton Rouge? He was like, yeah, I just got here. So she had her feelings, and he was like, well, how's the family? And so she was like, everybody's fine, and nobody's talking to me, and I just feel like I'm a stranger. They looked at me like I was the enemy. Y'all, she bust out crying, and he was like, where are you right now? And she was like, I'm at home. He was like, oh, okay, that's good. So you could tell apparently he's going to pop up on her. Y'all, Vi has a moment, I guess, before she go to bed where she's saying a prayer. She's praying for everybody, and when she gets to Nova, she was like, I love her, but she's done a lot, but bless her anyway and all this other stuff. Because at first I thought she was gonna leave her out in the prayer, because she said it all for everybody else in the prayer, but Nova, she was just like Calvin ended up showing up to Nova's house, and not long after that her nephew Micah showed up because he was going to drop off the keys, because as you know, he was house sitting for her while she was out on her book tour. And so she introduced him to, introduced Micah to Calvin. And, Micah kind of, well, he didn't really do much of nothing. What happened was Calvin excused himself. So then Micah and Nova had a moment. And so she was like, all right, let me hear it, because she already could tell he had somewhat of a judging look on his face. And so he was like, was he one of those corrupt cops? And, he's no longer a cop anymore or whatever. But, she knows nothing about his involvement. Like, she doesn't know if he's ever seen stuff and turned the other way, or if he's done any of this stuff before to these black and brown people. So he was like, how can you be with someone you don't even know what they've done, if they've done this stuff or not? And then he was like, have you been with him the whole time? And so she was like, no, we just reconnected while I was out on tour. So y'all, he tired. He was like, look, I hope you ain't with him like that, especially if he's the type of person that condones the misbehavior of crooked cops. Y'all, Ralph Angel ended up handing out the checks to his employees. And, of course, they were asking questions. They heard about the meal and all this other stuff. And he was like, look, they have me up under review. And I'm going to have to let some of y'all, all of y'all go. And I have been looking into other places that y'all can work. And, and everybody's like really upset, of course, because they out of a job. It was already hard enough for them to try to find a job before. So it was a godsend that he had that program. So, yeah. It's just a sad moment, and with him being a boss, he had to do it. And it hurt him, but he had to do that. So Charlie is at the mill, and she is taking pictures of a lot of the damage, and then she starts to clean up. Y'all, Sam Landry rolled up. Like, she literally broke out into a full breakdown and was crying, and then he rolled up. I was like, bruh. So anyway, she look up, she sees him, and was like, are you here to, throw it in my face, or did you come by to gloat? And so he was like, no, he came by to pay his respects. And so she read it, was like, y'all don't know nothing about what that word even means. And so he was like, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't do this. My hands are completely clean. And so she was like, I will never believe a word that comes out of your mouth. And she told him to leave and leave her alone. I was like, I know that's right, y'all. Anyway, so Ralph Angel and his girlfriend are having dinner. And he cooked again for her at the house. And he's in his feelings. Like, he's deep in his feelings because he told her what he had to do. And so she was like, you did what you had to do. You're a boss. That's what you had to do. And I know that you're upset about this, but, it was just something that you had to do. So, she was like, I'm going to do my part to help. And, it just got to a point where he was just like, I just feel like a lot of people are cursed and a lot of other people are just blessed. Every time I try to do right, all this bad stuff happens. And then I look at you, and she basically looked like she has it all. And so she ended up telling him about a moment when she was pregnant. And while she was pregnant, she was actually going to law school up at night, doing all kinds of stuff. You don't know nothing about what a law student go through. You just don't understand. Cause my sister was at law school and she stayed doing work. She ain't had time for fun time. She ain't had time to do nothing. And she ain't had no kids or nothing. And she was sick the whole time, like going all the way through, needing major surgery. But luckily we were able to get her all the way through without having to do that. Like, stuff held off long enough for her to get through law school, because it was going to be a whole lot to try to re-enter, and she was going to end up having to start basically all the way over on some stuff she'd already done if she were to leave at that moment. Like, it was a lot. So anyway, but he left like for 6 months, randomly just up and left, and she was by herself. She had to do everything by herself, and she would just let him know. Her words, she said that, you can let fear stall you, or you can let fear drive you. And so, he was crying and everything. I was like, okay, You know how, like, when you're angry and things are out of your hands and out of your control? He just had that kind of cry. Like, a tear came down and he went to the other one because somebody was talking and you saying some real stuff. It get to you. So she hugged him and they kissed and all this other stuff. And he asked her if she would spend the night, and she shook her head yes. So Micah and Kiki are kind of like back on good terms and kind of were making out. And so she brought up that prom was coming up. And so he was like, yeah, And she was like, we should start planning. And so he was talking about what he was going to do as far as getting the tux and getting the limo. And she was like, no, we need to start planning for prom night. And you know what prom is synonymous with in a lot of cases, or at least it used to be back in the day. A lot of people were born and came from the night when prom happened. A lot of people were born around the same time because their mama was having sex with their daddy during the night of prom. So she's basically stating that she's ready to have sex, and you know, he asked her, was she sure? So she was like, well, it's a conversation that I'm ready to have. So at this point, she's really ready to at least talk about it. Don't know if she's gonna give it up yet. So I was like, oh gosh. So Calvin and Nova are having a moment. She made some food, and you know, he was complimenting her on that, and you know, she wasn't really trying to hear all that because what her nephew said to her stuck out in her mind, and she was like, you know, when you were a cop, did you ever beat black people? And he said no. And then she asked him, when he was a cop, did he ever see other people beat black people? And he said yes, and like hung his head. And then she said, when this was going on, did you turn the other way? And he said yes. And he tried to explain why he did it and all the other stuff, but you know, she looked like she ain't really trying to hear all that. So I don't know how this is gonna work out, because these people were using excessive force and he just turned away. He didn't try to go find nobody, which it probably wouldn't did no good, because a lot of these people are so crooked that they go all the way up the chain. All the way up the chain sometimes. So I get it to a certain extent. So y'all, Ralph Angel is at the house, you know, his girlfriend has spent the night. She's asleep on his chest and he's just awake. And his phone starts ringing, but it's, you know, vibrating. And come to find out it's Darla, and she was like, you know, hi, I was just wondering if you're okay, you know, how you holding up? And he was like, I'm here, I'm all right. So they ended up having a conversation about Blue, and it was a nice conversation. I was wondering if the girlfriend was gonna wake up and hear him talking and laughing on the phone with Darla, but she didn't. But I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna be like, I don't know. I feel like since she's a mother, she should understand. But she might approach him later on and be like, you know, her behavior seems like the type that she misses you, and she thinks she might be able to get that old thing back. So I don't know. So the last thing that happened was Charlie is at the house, and her boyfriend showed up with a newspaper, was like, is it true? And he was wondering if she had anything to do with that situation where the migrant workers were working out in the fields and people got killed. And so she said yes. And he was like, why didn't you tell me this? Because when it came up before, she kind of like swept it under the rug, so to speak, or, you know, directed the conversation somewhere else. But yeah, he was like, is this really who you are? And she was like, yeah, I guess it is. Like, she's so broken in this moment that everything is just coming off in a terrible way. She wasn't apologetic about it. She wasn't remorseful. It was a beaten down type of response. And even though she does deeply care about this man, she's just not in the state of mind where she should know, oh, let me go after this man. Let me talk to him. Let me explain to him what happened. Let me tell him I was dead wrong for this, and I'm trying to make it right or whatever. But she was just out of it. But anyway, y'all, that was the Queen Sugar review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm about to go out and in a little while to hang out with one of my friends and have some girl time. I hope it's gonna be fun. But anyway, y'all have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.